Similar to what we do every week, we are again going back to the OCG meta report, and in this series of videos, I always bring you the decks that you're not going to find anywhere else because I go deep in the Konami database, and boy, we got some interesting stuff today. Besides the Eldlich deck you see today, we got Ashen Branded, the new decks from Terminal World, Gem Knights and Nekroz, and of course the update on the meta decks, Ryziel, Malice, and the Diabellstar Lord deck. Before we begin, like the video, subscribe for more content like this. We do one of these each week, and this really helps me, and by proxy you, stay ahead of the curve and know which cards to pick up on time, to be honest. And I wanted to start off with Eldlich because I think Eldlich is, for sure, a fan favorite that is probably also going to get direct support. In Supreme Darkness, it got this new field spell that basically allows you to send Eldlich himself from the deck to the graveyard. It's a zombie support card that sends from deck to grave, which is basically what all zombie decks want to do. They're playing 3 Bell, probably to counter Bestials, I would say, which are in the meta with Malice because they are extenders. Extravagance is great. They're playing Starlight Road, which is interesting. Also, probably because of Ryziel's boss that can just destroy stuff. So Starlight Road kind of counters that. Rivalry and There Can Be Only One are limited with Skill Drain and Summon Limit, which, you know, it's kind of interesting to think that Summon Limit was ever even a card, right, in the TCG because it's so strong. Rank 10 Toolbox because of Eldlich, of course, exceeds Varudras, right? It makes perfect sense. The new Zombie Ship, which is obviously like a zombie Eldlich card. And then, of course, in the side deck, we have some Eldlich additional spells like Awakening and this spell, Elixir of the Dark Awakening. And, of course, Zombie World, which is probably solid against, like, maybe, I'm not even sure, like, which deck does it really benefit against. Fiendsmith Live Twins is not a completely novel concept. The fact that Scythe is still legal, it's probably going to get banned in the next ban list. Like, this is something that for sure will happen because a Baoku is a card. We made a video on this card during the last or the one before OCG meta report. This card basically is like a pretty generic fiend that requires light and darks, and basically it just revives a light or a dark from your graveyard on your opponent's turn, which if you can get this there, it makes it pretty easy to do. Right, and of course you have Dagda that you can send, you can set it. Then this card also destroys a card on the field. So Nightmare Griffin is great, and the synergy here with the Fiendsmith cards is that Kisiko, and I'm not sure if this is a fiend, if Trouble Sunny is a fiend, but Kisiko is a light fiend. Even though they're not even playing Moon here, because you can just access Requiem directly with Kisiko. You put it in the graveyard, which is also good. And then the side deck, of course, this is the toolbox you're going to see in every side deck. Lancias, most importantly, because of Malice. And Red Reboot, we just made a video about that on the channel. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think. This is cool. And this is probably something that we need to pay close attention to because there are, in fact, 2 banned cards in the TCG on this list. And this set is going to come out probably next year, at the end of next year. The new Terminal World reprint set that has Nekroz, it has Gem Knights, and it has another archetype, which you will leave me in the comments. So it's a rock deck. Block Dragon is obviously a card that is insane in rock decks, which is banned. And then Brilliant Fusion, which, if I'm not mistaken, is also banned in the TCG. And they're probably going to have to unban this card. Maybe even block. We'll see. But this deck is getting some traction. A lot of new cards that you can see are all played at 3. We have this Pseudo Circular, which will send, they're not playing the Garnet, or maybe it is an alt art for the Garnet, but it just sends a normal monster to special summon itself, and it's a monster negate on the field. And then this Nephilim, which is going to be like the probably Gem Knight construct, right? We're going to get into that in a second. And of course, another fusion spell that also adds Gem Knight cards, and a new fusion monster that summons 3 Gem Knights from the extract during the opponent's turn with the Link 2 that is very strong and is not even new support. This is insane. They also got support in Power of the Elements, which I believe this flower is part of that support. The extract is pretty standard, but Nephilim or Construct is the searcher of the deck, adds a Gem Knight card other than itself. On summon, summons an additional Gem Knight monster. I believe it's from the hand. And then it returns a card from your graveyard to your hand when it's sent there. And then Dispersion is a new fusion spell, but it also can search, right? Gem Knight cards from the deck. And then this is the Master Diamond Dispersion, which can tag out to summon up to 3 non-rock gem monsters from the extra deck or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions, which is very strong. So what I would say, if you're interested in this deck, this might be one of your last chances to get these cards. They're banned, they shouldn't be that expensive, and let me know in the comments if you do. Ashen branded, we had such high hopes for Ashen. It should be getting more support in the OCG, by the way, at some point. But the synergy is pretty clear, I would say. Both are like fusion decks, I would suppose. There's no Super Poly here, which is weird, because 2 Pyro monsters. This is the new, I don't remember Infinite Forbidden or the one before, Legacy of Destruction, when it came out, which is just a Super Poly target for 2 Pyros. It probably doesn't do much. And it's kind of sad, to be honest. I'm really sad for Ashen. I have all the cards, and everybody had such high hopes for it. And the deck is just, it doesn't make sense how bad it is. Like, it's surprising sometimes. Nekroz is definitely a fan favorite from the past. Still, like, have some remnants of it in the ban list with the Jin, Master of Rituals, or whatever his name is. And similar to a lot of the ritual decks, which is something that I like, you see it in Voiceless Voice a lot. Nadir Servant is a really good package with Herald of the Arclight, because these decks don't usually access the extra deck or need to at all. There's obviously like a big toolbox and a lot of searchers, a lot of ritual spells that are very, very good. And of course, like Brionac and like the rituals are just super, super solid cards on their own. This is why this deck has been so powerful for a long time in the past. And again, Tutor adds a Nekroz ritual monster or ritual spell on summon. Makes sense, can special summon itself. And this is low. Prayers of the Voiceless Voice basically requires, takes up the whole material that is needed, Emilia. And then Nekroz of Metaltron is an SP Little Knight on demand. You don't even need to wait for an effect. So I'm really looking forward to this set, to be honest. The Gem Knights, the Nekroz, some wholesome stuff that we can, you know, look at and say, oh, we miss these cards, right? I kind of miss Snow. I like Snow. This is the pile, Tier Elements pile. I'm really looking forward to Grass coming back to 2 here. It's going to be really, really good. Left Arm Offering is insane, just to search any spell in the deck. Of course, Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. And the new Fiendsmith cards. Fiendsmith Engraver is already at 1, which is funny. But the extra deck is like super tied. We have Pilgrim Reaper. Now that there's like no Beatrice, this card is solid. I remember buying so many copies of this in the past. And every Mulcharmy, including Niaros. And a Pointer of the Red Lotus is apparently legal here, which is crazy with Thrust. It's really good. Now, let's shift back to meta decks. You're going to see this deck a lot. If this video comes up before YCS Anaheim, which is this weekend as I'm recording it, you're going to see a ton of this deck. This deck is just incredible. Very, very strong with some new support cards from Supreme Darkness, which is basically like, it's sort of like the gigantic sprite of, it turns Ryziel into sprites because you can use it as a level 4 for rank 4. So it's just really, really good. And this is like the meta deck, right? We see Scythe here, which can be accessed with 7th Tachyon. You can search for it, and then you can set it on your field and pop it with your Detonator, or just pop it in general, probably with any other card. And of course, they're also playing Sanctum. It's really toxic. This is cool because we made a video about Dark Magician cooking video a while ago. I think this is like the best way to play like pure Dark Magician. To be honest, just play Sarcophagus. It gets you to 2 really strong boss monsters, which are Master Magia and Dragoon. You can make Dragoon with Gendora and Dark Magician. And of course, with the Illusion package and Ultimate Fusion, you can get to Master Magia pretty easily with Fusion Armament that can cheat out Blua's Ultimate Dragon. Synchros. I mean, this deck is insane. I really want to play this deck. I'm sorry if there's a noise of a dog barking outside, which is crazy. Malice, this is a super, super standard list. Very, very similar to what we're going to be experiencing in the TCG, except for Appaloosa. I think this is the only realistic difference between the 2 decks, just Appaloosa. Side deck, again, is pretty varied. And lastly, the lore deck, guys. It's getting super limited here with Bonfire, Wanted, Diabell Star, Ash, Poplar. Everything is limited. These 2 are limited in the TCG as well. And of course, with the new Elzet of the White Forest, the Elzet Azamina, right? You can access a lot of really crazy 1-card combos. We made a video on the channel of how to turn Sylvie of the White Forest into a full combo. Make sure to check it out if you want to see how this deck works. And this is like the ultimate lore deck, right? And there's also the Azamina cards, which let me tell you, I'm going to make a video about that, and they are just straight fire. Thank you so much for watching. This has been another recap of the OCG metagame. Really happy about this series because I'm learning so much about the ins and outs of the decks, and I'm like never surprised when I see, like, as I'm researching this, I'm never surprised when I see them later on Twitter. But make sure to follow, because you probably don't want to do this yourself. You just want to have your 10 decks a week handed to you. So hit the bell, because this is how you get notified. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.